how you work on the people to whom you are responsible or you run the business. Dominant trait in me you will find is about Dr. Reddy.
Definitely they will learn, they will up their skill, but soon they will fly away.
In these 35, 40 years of experience, I have not seen anybody who is critical or criticizing that I didn't get anything.
When you invest so much, how does that benefit the business?
Because already the business narration is set and you know that there is a potential, but then you have to fix a price.
I think by investing in people and developing people, you build a character for the organization. So how do you balance between these two? I'm acting tough, acting very approachable. How do you balance these two?
So somewhere I think that feedback, 360-degree feedback, certainly has its impact.
Hello and welcome to this podcast series by HR Footprints. This episode of our podcast is very special. Not because I'm hosting it, because I have a very special guest with me today. I describe him as a very nice gentleman, fantastic achiever, and a very well known leader in the pharmaceutical industry. And of course, for a very long time, he's been a very good friend as well. Now, let me invite my guest for today, Mr. Shankar Das. Hi,
Hi,
Shankar.
hi Raj.
Welcome.
Good evening.
Welcome to this
Thank you.
podcast. Very good evening. Firstly, thank you so much for readily agreeing to be on this show. And we are very keen to listen to you and learn from your experiences because I understand, and many people know that you have more than 3.5 decades of work experience
Yeah.
and all across the pharmaceutical industry. So, we would definitely like to understand and learn from your experiences, both as a career, but more so as a person.
Okay.
My personal interest is to unveil the Shankar Das behind all these titles. There is a person, there is a thought process. Definitely, we
Yeah.
would like to understand more about that, right?
Okay.
So, let me begin by recalling that we met almost more than 2 decades ago when we
True.
were together in Dr. Reddy's. That was my first, meeting with you. I just
Yes.
want to understand, was that your first organization where you started a career, or was there something before? What were the foundations of your career, where it all started?
It all started with Cipla, that is
Okay.
way back in 1982. So
Okay.
I started in sales at Cipla, and almost for 3 years I worked with Cipla, followed
Mhm.
by now non-existent but a multinational company called ICI.
Okay.
From where I joined Dr. Reddy's. That was in the year 1990, 91.
Oh, okay. Wonderful. Wonderful. So you had a very long stint then with Dr.
Yes,
Reddy's.
close to
Yeah.
25 years of
Wow.
my career
Amazing.
is with them.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. And of course, I do remember that last 8 years have been phenomenal for you, which is the
Yeah,
most recent ones where you were heading the company Curatio and phenomenal success. I know that entire story, which we'll discuss in a short while. But I
okay,
just want to ask you a little related question. So you started
yeah,
like that as in sales and maybe at a very ground level, field level, and then you have moved into the managerial level. Then you became the head of the department, functional head, business leader, and then a CEO as well. So
yeah,
when you see the span, it's fantastic. It is very vast. Now here
right.
comes my question, which I'm very curious to learn from you is, if you were to recall, what was the 3 4 things that you were doing constantly that really helped you to move from one level to the other? Because I understand it's not very easy.
Right. Okay, so the top of the mind, no, constantly when I say that I worked continuously and continue to work on my communication ability. I always
Okay.
felt that it is the communication which is going to make things happen. It makes people reassured. It ensures you influence people. For everything, communication is very critical. So I would first give the number one status for communication as a point. The second point is the ability to work with the people, my teamwork
Okay.
abilities, getting across with the people with the comfort. So wherever I have worked after setting up my own team way back when I was area manager, that's how I joined Dr. Reddy's. So from being a team member to becoming a team leader, I think from that time onwards, my orientation towards that understanding of that one individual cannot accomplish anything other than the personal needs and requirements. Maybe even there also, no, lot of participation. If my wife hears, she will feel annoyed. But I think one individual achieving something on own, it can happen because I don't have a knowledge of the entire sphere. But I think that without a team, nothing is possible. So secondly, I give that a place for teamwork. And
Okay.
the third part is that how you work on the people uh, to whom you are responsible, or you run the business. In fact, since you mentioned about Dr. Reddy's, I must tell, and since I worked for close to 25 years in Dr. Reddy's, since I have now 4 decades of experience, dominant trait in me you will find is about Dr. Reddy's, and its contribution towards grooming me is very, very significant. And one part which was certainly there, okay, I'm right now talking about the senior management of Dr. Reddy's. Two, three important things that they have done. For example, there was a leadership development program where a set of people have gone to Boston and participated in such programs, or individual mentoring facility that the company organized for potential and promising candidates. You look at all these things, you will see that it is not that you are contributing towards the organization, but the organization, assuming that it is a team, that is also contributing significantly back to you. Even about a month ago, I happened to watch one of the podcast of GV Prasad, where we very,
Right.
very clearly mentions that Dr. Reddy is certainly a CEO churning factory. And I think it was a very apt description. So there is a factor that what you are in turn contributing to your team members. I think that is the third thing which I would give weightage if I have to talk about the 3 bullet points.
Okay, wonderful. So the first one was communication.
Yes.
Constantly, you kept sharpening that. The next
Yeah.
one is, I think, very early you started understanding that as an individual, you can achieve only so much, but you have to learn to work with people and the teams. And the
Correct.
third one is the ecosystem that really enabled to evolve into a leader. And you recall fantastic experiences from Dr. Reddy's. Now,
Yeah. And
when I talk,
what I do to build those people around me. Okay. So they should
Okay.
feel. Yeah.
Right, right. So usually, one of the fears that some leaders, when we keep working with many leaders, one of the fears is, hey, if I invest on my people, definitely they will learn, they will up their skill, but soon they will fly away. So it's going to be a loss, right? So many leaders have this little sense of feeling that we might just lose them. So I think let them be there wherever they are. So what do you have to say as a business leader?
Okay, so this used to be a common poster too in very many social media platforms, and there could be possibilities for some people. But I have also seen parallel quotes saying that what happens if you do not develop people and they decide to stay back with you. But but my personal feedback, Raj, is like this: that to whomever I have worked with, I can recall many people, and now many of them are even in the Curatio experience of 8 years, many of them were not part of my team. But the relationship that they enjoy even today, and the positions and responsibilities they have seen in their career and they have grown, I think no, it makes one very proud, and it also makes you have that significant amount of satisfaction. There is a vibrancy in that relationship, and God knows, there could also be, world is not just one phase of 3 4 years of working together. There could be very many chances of you working together, because this working together again makes lot of sense. In
Right.
Curatio, when I walked in, no, it is very interesting to know in the year 2005, a set of four people whom I have recruited, who were part of my team in Dr. Reddy's, they decided to leave on one fine day, and they
Okay.
started this company Curatio. Okay, so they were all executive, no, with responsibility. They didn't put the money. Promoter was somebody else, but they no started this company. The idea belonged to them. But have I ever imagined that there will be a day where I will go to the same organization and take this organization from where it was left, and to a
Mhm.
much greater height. And many of those people were part of my team earlier in Dr. Reddy's. So one can imagine there could be two situations. My God, I
Mhm.
thought I am leaving this guy, and never I need to look back. And on another hand, you have a situation where you continue to work with people, and instant trust, everything gets formed. I think
Mhm.
one should very consciously make that effort towards developing people. It is not that I will be developing; I need to be just an enabler. For example, you
Mhm.
mentioned 7 8 years in Curatio. In these 7 8 years time, Raj, okay, the amount of no budget we allocated for our development programs for the people, and the number of leaders whom I have brought because of my network, and that included you also. But apart from that, you in the pharma industry, very many doyens. In 8 years, I can immediately count at least about 15 to 16 programs. All of them who have come and contributed for the we staying on track, we going towards accomplishing what the industry calls it as a significant accomplishment of what Curatio has done in terms of valuation. All these things was possible because there was a conscious effort towards development of people. On
Sure.
the other hand, in these 35, 40 years of experience, I have not seen anybody who is critical or criticizing that I didn't get anything, who feel unfortunate or uncomfortable with why they happen to work with me for a couple of years. I think
Mhm.
I will certainly look forward and suggest that the team which is working for you, they need to put into that development orbit. Once again, I'm not saying I should do it. There are expertise available in the industry. We need to facilitate very consciously, and where we want the organization to go, it will certainly.
Mhm. So one is very crucial one that you kept emphasizing is it will strengthen the trust and the bonding and the networking, the relationship kind of a thing. It's like a glue, right? When you invest
Correct,
and
correct.
people see you that you are helping me to grow, so therefore there's automatic connect that happens. So I think that's very very crucial kind of a point. Now,
Yeah,
from the individual finding this very beneficial, just as you
yeah.
got benefited, in Dr. Reddy's, you helped so many people. Now, I will just lift the conversation. Now, this is
Okay.
more like a lot of people face this question that,
Mm.
when you invest so much, how does that benefit the business and the organization, not at an individual level who will have the career flying or whatever, but more as a
Right.
business? How does that get benefited?
Okay, so here I will reflect more about my recent experience, Raj.
Mhm.
Okay, so you know that the organization which I worked for went through evaluation, and we
Yes.
have received one of a very milestone type of evaluation of 7.5 times
Amazing, amazing
the
evaluation. It
value
was
we
all
received.
over the press.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So the point is, there was a period of about 4.5 months of due diligence work that was happening, and close
Mhm.
to 12 to 18 people of the company which acquired us, their team was sitting in our office and doing
Okay.
due diligence. And the point is, not a single, no, usually the due diligence, one of the objective is whatever is the expectation of the price in valuation, uh, by identifying or finding out some issues that, it gives you a lever to negotiate your price down, because already the business narration is set and you know that there is a potential, but then you have to fix a price. So that is
Yeah.
where this due diligence comes into force. Okay, I can very proudly talk about my team that there is not a single episode or event which was related to the compliance, governance, and data integrity. If these three things, or no, any legal mismanagement or issues that one would not like to talk more about it, regulation, in all these things, Raj, okay, do you think as a CEO, I would have been keeping an eye on everything? It is not at all possible, I can tell you. But
Right.
the entire team had made it happen. Of course, I have talked about, stressed about those factors that we need to be, and it is all the quality I inherited from Dr. Reddy's experience. I have talked a lot about governance, compliance, data-based decision, and no archiving everything which is of strategic in nature. All those things I have talked, and to some extent I might have ensured that with my immediate reportees. But what happens if an IT guy, okay, my colleague Durgaram, has ensured that there is no issue of somebody hacking our system? I am taking IT because I can say myself least experienced, but somebody hacking that system, and at some part of time, okay, we were under the threat of losing all that vital information about customers or the way we do business,
Right.
nothing like that. Okay, so that is why we could get, so the acquiring organization not only saw the business narrative and where this can go, but they saw that we are getting a company inside our company which they will have least effort to mismanage some surprises. This country had seen a very large organization getting acquired, and in the next 10 years time what type of issues those organizations have given,
Very
or
true.
we have seen we are in front of our eyes in the last 20 years. Whereas here is a company which was built by the people with least supervision, I would say, from myself, with the least supervision, okay, but have ensured that this company is a milestone company for its valuation story. So that was possible, and that is mainly because people got benefited because of my repetitive communication. Where we are going, I am linking it to my first point. And
Mhm.
second thing is the characteristics that we need to bring into the company, and to that, what type of a development program we need to give to the people. Okay, so this is where I think no, I would give as an example that people build the organization. There, it is irrespective of the leadership. If these fundamentals are there, and somewhere I have read that uh, it is not people development is different, and performance management is different. You manage performance by developing people. I have read
Wow.
a quote like that somewhere.
Mm.
We manage performance through developing people. That is how I read it, and I believed in that. Okay, so I can give this example before I stepped into Curatio. Our total training program attention was the training our sales guys for product knowledge. From there, if you look at it, we had many of the industry heavyweights spending 3 to 5 days time with us in terms of, so be it out of box thinking, creativity program, or be it no. I had Jaspal Bajwa coming in. Okay, I am a very strong believer in the way Jaspal had trained people like me,
Mm. Mm.
Dr. Reddy's in the 6 to 7 years time. Otherwise, I would call myself only as a marketing expert till Jaspal had come in. But to drive a person towards overall business management, business perspective, how do you bring in that type of a big picture? All that, and with all these things, I am not a totally delighted person with Jaspal. I hope he sees this. I have given my critical. It is very difficult to satisfy him and work under him. So I have worked for 6 years, but the transformation that he has given, not only to me, to many of the people. Okay, if you take Arnesh Verma, okay, he is the CEO for Cipla in US. No, I think the grinding had happened for that 6 or 7 years. Okay, so I would certainly think that if you build your people, they will in turn build the organization very well and
Beautiful,
contribute
beautiful.
to the industry too.
Mm-hmm. No, I think the one first point that you actually started, that how does the whole investment in people impact the business? You actually gave an example of how the due diligence was positively impacted because of that investment.
Yeah,
And the crucial point that you mentioned was, I think by investing in people and developing people, you build a character for the organization. I thought that's a very,
true.
very insightful kind of point. A lot of people think
Yeah.
how to build cultures, how to transform my organization. I think it is through the
Mm,
concrete steps of investing in people that you bring change and you build culture. I think that has been your fantastic experience. And the next one, of course, you're also saying that the beautiful statement that you just summarized is managing people means developing people. So it is through developing people that you manage performance or enhance
correct.
performance. So to me, I think these are more like the leadership convictions that you would have developed within you, because I think this might differ from leader to leader. So when I
Yeah.
speak to Shankar, the leader, you
Mm,
have very deep sense of conviction that people development will build the organization and build the business. Now, I just want to
yeah.
know, where did you pick up this level of belief in, and because I know you very well, that you've been all through your career has been a fantastic HR champion. Whenever I think HR teams wanted to launch some of the new initiatives, I'm sure they would find Shankar Das to be the first person to go to, because there is a very quick acceptance for some of the
Correct.
new initiatives and all. But where did you pick this conviction? How did it happen to you?
So I would like to recall that event, okay, and it is very early stage of my leadership role. I was a team leader, area manager in sales. So we were all in Mahabalipuram for a development program. The GUD was a general manager at Dr. Reddy's Laboratories. And the evening after, one external facilitator had talked to us about people management. Evening, we were all relaxing on the seashore, on the beach, with a glass of beer. And this Gad asked a question that, okay, what are all the times where, while being with your people, you started feeling uncomfortable? Okay, so this type of question he asked, and I was the first to jump at responding to that. So the in medical no representative profession, that our job is to meet a doctor and to go to the relevant product and start explaining to about the product. So I said that I am joining my field guy to enter into a doctor's chamber, and in front of the doctor, this guy opens this folder, visual folder, and start talking about the product. And my God, many a times he is fumbling, he is
Mhm.
searching for words, and no, I am feeling that pain in me, that why not I grab that piece from his hand and do it, because I feel so embarrassed with this situation, because all these doctors were
Yeah.
doctors who have seen me as a very good representative. So now I feel very awkward. This is the statement I made. And I thought I have brought out, and it was an important issue, no doubt about it. And this Gad looked at me and asked me that, Shankar, are you not very arrogant uh, to
Mhm.
have this type of experience? that no, you are thinking you are so good, and the guy who is reporting to you, he is not so good. What for you are there? Is it you will replace his role? Because I said I felt like grabbing that visual aid and do it myself. So he said that this is coming out of your arrogance, that you are good. Okay, in your current role, that is not what is expected and required, Shankar Das. It is that how you are making that person who is reporting to you good like you. If you think you are good, I have not seen you in action inside the clinic, so I am not going to accept that you are good or bad, but I am questioning your assumption that you are good and your team member is not good, and this is nothing but arrogance. And that's hardly about 5 6 months of me joining Dr. Reddy's laboratories. For a moment, I was shit scared that yeah, head of the business is saying that you are arrogant and what will happen. But let me tell you that that was a waking up situation for me. I felt that it is not the individual expertise. I also touched upon the teamwork.
So that must have been a very important evening that you had with your boss. I think that was a very beautiful insight, but I think maybe presented to you very straightforward way. But that's a kind of a crux of growing as a leader. That
Yeah.
at this level of your role, you doing your team member's job better is no great thing to celebrate. You have a different role of grooming your people. I think that's a beautiful message. I think many young leaders who are shaping up in their careers will actually pick this one point. This is a one point because I've seen a lot of times leaders comparing their work with their team members' work. And they start feeling that, see how good I am. I think the earlier one gets out of that phase, I think one starts growing as a leader. I think that's a beautiful point, what you mentioned. Amazing, amazing. Right. So, in this context of your leadership, I also
Yeah.
notice that people do carry a lot of respect towards you, either as not just because you are a CEO, but somehow as a pharmaceutical leader, I think people do carry a lot of respect. But importantly, I also notice that a lot of people do carry a lot of comfort of approaching you, very easily. So how do you balance between these two? I mean, acting tough, acting very approachable. How do you balance these two, Shankar?
Okay, so I need to mention one thing about the film Coach Carter.
Mhm.
It had a very profound impact when I watched it, and actually the film was introduced to me by Just Paul. But more than that, in Dr. Reddy's, since we have worked together in Dr. Reddy's, you will know this better. There was a TV RAW 360-degree
Right.
feedback program. I think that was one of the best initiative which Dr. Reddy's
I remember
had
launching
introduced.
that year. Yeah, yeah, very true.
So I think in my tenure, I might have gone for this 360-degree feedback in Dr. Reddy's at least 5 times, because every 2 years it used to be repeated, and I have gone through 5 times, and even today I retain. Okay, and I must tell that I took these feedbacks very seriously. And the first time when I participated in that program, it was actually puncturing me at very many fronts. Okay, in the sense that you talked about no accessibility. So people were blunt in saying that no, we find it difficult to reach him when we actually want him to be in our midst. Okay, this type of a feedback had come. Okay, but people did talk about at that time also my expertise. At that time, I was not a very senior guy. It was a mid-level marketing manager role. People did talk about appreciate what I am doing towards brand building and what is my contribution to the company, but they did raise a voice about or give a feedback that it is difficult for us to reach out to him. I think over the next three such a 360-degree feedback, if I all put together, I will see that many of the same similar type of team members, of course, teams are dynamic, but the same people who were reported to me started saying that I am very much accessible to them. So somewhere I think that feedback, 360-degree feedback, certainly has its impact, because it is not coming out with a grudge, but it is genuine, and it is
Right.
genuinely
Right.
telling you that where you can develop, and it is much better than a performance appraisal, because a performance appraisal usually happens with the boss, whereas 360-degree comes from very many
Very true.
quarters.
Many
uh,
stakeholders. Yeah.
yeah, so I think that had its good impact on me, and I'm always
Amazing.
thankful to Dr.
Amazing.
Reddy's for that.
Amazing.
So I changed myself to ensure that I become a very person who will be accessible. That was also possible because I started, because that feedback along with accessibility, it also talked about delegation. Okay, so
Okay.
I started delegating more. So in the process, what happens is the proximity for me and the people, where they wanting to talk to me and where they come to me, or me going to them in their workplace or on the site, everything improved, and it flourished. So I will. It is not something it was there internally in me for long, but this 360-degree feedback type of tools actually helped me to get an expertise on that.
So thanks to all the stakeholders who gave
Yeah,
their feedback, and that's also nice of you that you process the feedback in a very positive and constructive way instead of blaming it on them, or
yeah.
associating that with any other organizational kind of a politics. You just took it at face value and you started processing mentally, and then you brought about those leadership changes. So I think people who are listening to this, I think there's a big takeaway is feedback is such a powerful tool to grow as a leader. You just keep
Correct.
listening to people, instead of judging them. Just keep processing that back of your mind and pick up what you want to change, and that is how you evolve as a leader. Fantastic, beautiful insight. So
So
we were talking about the parental impact on you.
parents.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so no, I always give very strong credit to my parents on no respecting people. So never in my last the 30 years, 40 years towards my team members or any time, I would have used any language which can be considered as unparliamentary or personally hurting an individual. So these things, my mother always have told me that always use words, and she used to quote her schools and reading of literatures in Tamil. We call it Modi. Also keeps talking about Tirukural. So she used to say that uh, what you utter a word, okay, if it is going to wound an individual, then that mark will always remain. So on communication, no etiquette, I think my parents have taught me a lot, and
Beautiful.
I believe that I am carrying a lot, and know how one can be very frugal and humble in terms of life, no living within the budgets. So these are all the things which I learned from my mother. And one important quote my father had said, which I was not understanding because I was only 10, 12 years old at that time. But in the latter part of my life, when I remembered and recalled, it made a lot of sense to me, because sense to the profession. He said, I told you he was running a canteen. So he used to sweat a lot while coming out of the kitchen. And I remember asking him that, why he is always, I am seeing him amidst sweat. Okay, so he said a statement which the meaning at the time I didn't know. He said, a cook cannot complain about the temperature of the kitchen. That's what he said.
Beautiful.
And I didn't understand.
Beautiful.
I didn't understand the meaning at that time, but later, when I was going through my career growth and all, many a times I have also spoken, and I have also heard people saying that, when you love your job, then there is nothing called your working time is squeezed, or there is a stress, there is a pressure. In fact, I don't believe sales job has pressure, because which production guy doesn't have a pressure? Which IT guy doesn't have a pressure? So, in my opinion, a job will become pressure only when we don't love it or like it.
Beautiful,
Otherwise, it
beautiful.
is like what my father said, that as long as I love cooking, I will not be bothered about whether the temperature is high, because kitchen is supposed to be hot. So that is absolutely fine. So this, I think these three things are certainly an impact of my parents.
No, amazing. I think you said be respectful in the way you use words and your communication. I think that's. I mean, we talk big things about the respect as a value and all that. I think these are all very basic stuff, which I'm so glad that I think you picked up from your parents. The second one is also equally important, that living within your means and being frugal, within the budgets, within your
Yeah,
balanced kind of a life. I think it's a very crucial one, because otherwise, I think we do see people who stretch themselves beyond their own capacity and then run into huge debts, and that becomes a vicious cycle there. The third
one
one is
classic
is on.
example, Raj, is my son. Okay, who has seen my mother? Okay, so it is she who was with him for many years. He doesn't own a credit card. That is because even
Okay.
today he says he uses only debit card. He says my grandmother has said that never borrow money. Okay,
Hmm.
well,
Wow.
now you can imagine that
Interesting.
what type
Interesting.
of impact it has on children. So my
Yeah.
parental
Yeah.
pressure was influence. I would say pressure.
Amazing,
Influence was more.
amazing, amazing. And the third one is beautiful one, right? A cook cannot complain about the heat in the kitchen,
Yeah,
right? If you accepted that this is my role and I signed up for this, then I think just take it in totality. Don't take only part of it and leave the rest of it. I mean, you just need to own
very correct.
everything, right? That's a beautiful one. I mean, I'm just amazed that how small things, but they have life-changing impact, right, from parents. I'm so glad that you summarized. I'm sure there must have been more, many more, but I think maybe these are the top three things. So your bosses had an impact, the leaders had an impact, the parents have had an impact, and you had an impact on the businesses and the teams that you led, etc. So when you look back at your very long career,
Yeah,
is it fulfilling, is it satisfying, as just as a person, I'm asking?
very much satisfying, Raj. Okay, so
Okay.
just now, this afternoon, I received a call from my ex-colleague by name Chadaga, who is heading the business of Torrent in Philippines. And now there is no reporting relationship, but that he was updating me with what was the conclusion of the year, and how much EBITDA they have made. There was no necessity, because even by distance he is foreign. Now, why does these things happen? It is because people always felt that there is a person who is looking at my growth and development, and he will be happy if I update him with some news. Okay, so I think when I look back, I feel very happy and satisfied. And I must tell that what I have learned. There are many people. I talked about just Paul. There are like that many managers were there. There are many people who have contributed to me, and a company like Dr. Reddy's also had contributed to me. So when I was the CEO, Dr. Raj, because I wanted this to come in our discussion, I ensured that whatever I have gone through in Dr. Reddy's, my team in Curatio should go through. So first thing is that I increased the budget for a people development program, and I ensured that many people come inside the organization to work on the development of our people. We brought in a lot of people-oriented initiatives. One initiative, if I have to talk about, like medical insurance, is a hygiene factor. Okay, so I'm not talking about medical insurance, but during COVID time, okay, my HR head Venkateshwaran brought me that there is a, and at that time lockdown was still in operation. He said that there is a policy available, which is no, for organization like us, death due to any cause, six times the annual CTC will be given to that employee, and that would cost about for our size of the organization about 20 lakhs. It would cost annually. Remember, the COVID is the time where it is locked down. We have recorded only 70% of the otherwise usually seen sales. So there was no light of when things will change. So at that time, I said that if my team has to move uh, back to the hospitals to work, is all the precautions were there. There were restrictions of people movement. First, I said that let us bring in this type of a policy inside the company. Okay, and within Curatio, certainly two people got benefited rights. And
Okay, okay,
means due to COVID only they moved out, unfortunate. But imagine we paid only 20 lakhs, but one guy at the age of 53 or 54, he got his family got close to about 46 lakhs. I think this is certainly a help we could do. Now these are all the people welfare policies, which I am sure that I learned it from Dr. Reddy's laboratories. I
Mhm.
could bring in. So not just development, but also policies and frameworks, which will be very, very employee oriented and employee friendly. And that's why I believe the team had made it a highly valuable organization.
Beautiful, beautiful. So I keep hearing that you've been learning and you've been applying, you've been growing, but you didn't stop there. You actually passed it on. You kept
Correct.
passing it on to a lot of people, and therefore, when you look back, it gives you immense satisfaction overall as a career. Not only you have grown, but you also help the businesses and the people. Most importantly, the people also have grown. I think is great
Correct. Correct.
satisfaction for you. Amazing, amazing. So, just before we sort of conclude,
Yeah.
other than the pharmaceutical industry, the business, sales, teams, and grooming people, what else does Shankar get involved with personally? I mean, is some other hobby or something that you pursue which gives you a little off time and then charges you up a little?
Okay. Uh, I will say like this. Now after the divestment got completed and about 1.5 year ago, I told myself I should start doing something of my liking, and in which I am current status of mine is zero. I don't have anything on that. So like that, I always I was fond of music, so I
Okay.
decided I will learn a musical instrument.
Mm.
And so at the age of 61, I enrolled myself for learning this Carnatic instrument, Mridangam. And I am
Okay.
successfully running my 14th month now. So almost weekly 2 or 3 classes I attend this. And there I was actually zero and I am learning. So it
Beautiful.
certainly helps me a lot. First thing is I feel occupied and I feel that since I love music, okay, I feel it is contributing for my
Yeah.
overall well-being. The feel of well-being it is contributing, and I am learning a new art, which I am very strongly believing that it will keep me young in terms of because I have to memorize, I have to learn. It
Very true.
involves mathematics. So other than that, as you know, that I am also playing an advisory role
Yes.
to one of the PE firm in the country, Jesuit
Yes.
Capital. So I
Yeah.
their strategy is to focus more on healthcare. So I play an advisory role, and another couple of pharma companies I play an advisory.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So you are leveraging all your experiences and you're still helping, advising
Yeah,
companies and also pursuing your own personal passion. I guess I think this is a very important point what you mentioned that it keeps you very sharp. Any art or any form keeps you very active, very energetic. I think maybe I think all of us, everyone should have some kind of a passion, maybe a hobby. I think that could be a little off time. It can charge you up. I think it's just a lot of refreshing, which energizes you to do your original profession, much more efficiently there. Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Shankar. I think for sparing your time and we have I have learned from your Sipla days to your parenting. I mean, what you learned from your parents to your early days to how you have evolved and what your beliefs towards people and people management. I am very sure that most of my HR colleagues who would listen to this will be super happy that we have leaders like Shankar who believe so deeply in HR initiatives and not only just say it, but they actually do it. They lend that support. They become the HR champions with a true belief that it helps the organization, helps building the culture, and helps building the relationships and networks and all that. So many ways, and of course, there are so many lessons that one can pick up from your chat on leadership. I think it's one of the primary things that I've learned is your job is to develop your people, and your job is to listen to your stakeholders and keep processing your feedback. I think it's a beautiful insight. So thank you so much. And yeah, wish to stay connected with you. I do have a few ideas about some business models. Maybe I'll talk to you offline about it. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
yes. It's my pleasure, Raj, to talk to you, and thanks for making me to speak like this. I could not only touch about many things from the past, but I also could relive many of the excitement that I had gone through in terms of development,
Yeah,
my own development. I mean,
right.
so thanks to you for this program.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.